All right, we are recording. Sorry about this. I'm getting over a sinus infection. Some of my voice sounds kind of funny, that's why. And you'll notice that there's a new background on the desktop here. That's because my previous laptop that I had been using for the last 6 or 7 years to develop this finally died, and now I have to switch to another one. Fortunately, I was religiously backing my work up, and that brings up a whole new meaning of the term religiously backing it up, considering that the place where I was keeping a backup of my work was actually my mailbox at church. I'd back my stuff up to a thumb drive and just put it in there. Anyways, you'll notice a couple of changes to the level. I've added Spike. I realized I can't do this without Spike. I mean, to me, this is actually kind of minor, but yeah, that's one of the differences. Another difference is, let's see, you notice that there's some gemstones floating in the background here, and that's a new feature that allows me to, well, let's see. I was going to use Spike as a sort of an exposition fairy. Let's see. And yes, I have to make a reference to the movie. Yeah, I realized that having small items that you can collect that sort of show the way you're supposed to travel, that's a good thing to have in a video game, and my game did not have that until I added this as a feature. I mean, Mario's got coins, Sonic has rings, Klonoa has those little crystals. My game didn't have anything, but then I realized I could just take the gem items that enemies drop and use those instead. Just, have them stationary. That's another that's another feature that this game has, but there is one that I'm even more excited about than that. You can make your own items, and the game has an inventory and equipment system. You actually use the mouse for this. You click on one of the character portraits down here, and then you will see different equipment slots. There's supposed to be a pony here, but that will come later. And you can actually dress the ponies up in outfits that they had from the show. Like here's Rarity in that raincoat and rain hat that she had in the episode with Discord, the second season opening. I think it's the Return of Harmony. But you can also dress her up in her detective getup from, let's see, I think it was Rarity Investigates. So she's got that trench coat and fedora right there. And there's actually a lot of different things that you can use to dress the ponies up. I have Maximilian Alpine's design for a raincoat somewhere. Huh. I guess I don't have it in the starter inventory. Oh well. I do have it on Twilight. Let's just switch to Twilight here, and there she is. There's Rainbow Dash. She's a little too metal for an umbrella. There's Pink Amina Diane, and she, of course, has the umbrella hat. Let's see, Applejack, she's got her poncho from the episode, shoot, what was it called? Dragon Quest? And of course, Fluttershy. She's got a rain jacket on from, actually it's a piece of fan art that's, I think it's like Stay Safe East Coast. I've also finally made use of some of these animated backgrounds so that you see lightning in the background. but there, and as you can see, I am using the items that float in the air to sort of attract the player towards the receiving bay here. It'll be really embarrassing if I manage to fall to my death here. I can't remember exactly when I added these, but I decided that I wanted to add more references to the liquid rainbows at different places in the factory just to show how badly the factory was falling to pieces. And as you go higher and higher in the weather factory, you see more and more evidence of this. And you notice this parity mode thing here. I've also added zones that if the player enters them, the game automatically switches between polite mode and parity mode. For example, these were bins full of recyclables up until I entered parity mode. Again, I want this game to be a parody, so so that it has protections under US law as a fan game, so I have to add parity elements. Basically, I did that by MST3K'ing my own game. So what happens is, if I get to a particular point, then it will trigger some dialogue, but it'll also switch to polite mode because the polite mode dialogue happens before the parody mode dialogue. What's that smell? Sweet apple acres, apple peels. I'd recognize them anywhere. You can recognize them after they're rotted? Gross. You're going to put me off your cider, AJ. What's all this garbage doing in the weather factory? Remember how Sassaflash told us she had that recycling machine? These are scenes which I plan to have earlier in my game. They basically haven't been created yet. I bet this trash is here to be recycled into rainbows. Or at least it was until the factory got attacked. And you can tell that it's in parody mode because the boundary line of the dialogue has switched to red. Normally it's black. Please let me out. Not gonna happen, failure. You're rainbow juice. Yeah, this is totally references to the Rainbow Factory fanfiction. I don't want to die. Dying happens to every pony. Really? Yep. The important thing is what you do with your time. Really? Yep, you just need to have as much fun at the expense of your fellow ponies before being damned to hell for eternity. Okay, I'll try telling the other fillies and colts how funny they smell when they're wet. And scared. Because they wet themselves. Yeah, we get the picture. And there are also zones that switch you back into polite mode. I believe that if I go far enough downwards, it auto-switches back to polite mode. Okay, that's irritating. Well, right, I can just go down here. Yep, there it was. Switched back to polite mode. And they are now, once again, recyclables. And I managed to get through all of that without needing to get the checkpoint in the receiving bay. There is another feature, which hopefully it won't take too long for me to show it to you. And the funny thing about the equipment system here, it is not set in stone what these equipment slots are going to be. You, as the game designer, can pick whatever equipment slots you want. You can put them anywhere in the equipment space that you want. And it is indeed possible to consume items. I don't have any consumables in the inventory at this point. And there's these scroll bars here on both sides. That's the close button there, and you can tell that there's buffs here. That's a sort of a spoiler for what's coming next. You can also examine items. If you do this, standard gemstone, topaz drop small. You can also examine items, pink and purple saddle umbrella for mares. This item's properties are as follows: keeps flank dry, keeps tail dry, keeps body dry, saddle for mares, keeps mane dry. Let's just change things up for Fluttershy here. Actually, that makes it near impossible to tell the difference between when I've got Fluttershy out and when I've got Rainbow Dash out, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm gonna have to pick another one for her. You know, I really botched it with this starter inventory. There should have been a lot more variety than there was. Oh well, I can fix that. With time, I can fix that. For that matter, considering the fact that this is supposed to be, you know, the introduction to the latest and greatest... to the latest and greatest features of my game engine, I probably should have had a background in place, even if it was just a placeholder. But there's logical reason why it's not there yet. Let's see. Alto Stratus. Alright, here we go. You see these spinning stars here? Those are an item that is instantly consumed when I touch it, and that gives me a buff. To give you some idea what that buff is, you can see it superimposed on Rainbow Dash, and the buff appears here. You click on it and you get the description of the buff. Increases every pony's charms by 4, gives every pony spreading charms for 60 seconds. Duration left on this buff, 51.6 seconds. Now, absolutely every pony has spreading shots, and the shots deal much more damage. And the buffs do wear off over time. 13 seconds on that, so if I just stand here and fire, yeah, 13 seconds of watching nothing. That seems a little bit much to ask from today's generations, but as you can see, right there, you can see the exact moment when the spread shots turned into single shots. So there's an equipment system, there's buffs, and there's items, including custom items, which you saw that one there, the spinning stars. Actually, every single one of the equipable items that are in the inventory here is also a custom item. There's pants, there's items that specifically protect the tail, like a tail cover there. You can also add overskirts. The funny thing about this is if you have an overskirt, then the tail is automatically protected, so the tail essentially gets blocked off. You can't equip items on the tail anymore. That's another one of the features. You can block off one equipment slot based on what other equipment slots have in them. The classic example of that is you can't wield a shield if you're carrying a two-handed weapon, but obviously since the ponies don't have hands, I couldn't manifest it that way. The equipment slots that I have so far are headgear, cloak, jacket, boots, saddle, which generally holds umbrellas at this point, overskirt, pants, and tail. Oh, and before I forget, we just switch to rarity here. I also have Rarity's Glam Boots. Can't do this without those, you just can't. So that's about it for the intro, at least as far as the game engine goes. There is a lot to show you guys in the editor, and I will be going one piece at a time with that.